YouTube, Twitter, and oops, come on. There you go. Okay, Facebook. We're transitioning in. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Lyne't Gray Show. I just kind of took over. My name is Jorge or George Fuller. I represent Jorge Fuller for the people, the campaign, as well as Fuller for the city. And tonight I get to be host of the Lyne't Gray Show on KUAW, which stands for Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom. And I wanted you all to take a moment to just join in and be present with us as we go through this opportunity, because you know I'm about the people. So I'm always about organizations and efforts that are about the people. So one of those organizations, if you have not and didn't know about it, KUAW here in Kansas City, Missouri, is the first global local LPFM that made it all the way across the world. And right now, Lyne't Gray is tuning in live in Ghana. So I know she's going to be able to hear this as she wakes up and get her day started, because, you know, there's 12 hours difference from us. So I just want you to know that you are seeing this and being present on a global radio station located here in Kansas City, Missouri, right at the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center. And if you are looking for organizations to donate to, support, to put some engagement with, if you got some equipment that you think makes the radio better, please feel free to contact Mr. George. Not me, but Mr. George. Don't contact me. Contact Mr. George. He will get you up together. George Walker is the executive director and founder, as well as executive director and founder of Black Families Technology Association. He has been doing this for years. When I say years, I am not kidding with you. He has been trying to make sure that there are computers and decreasing the digital divide. And right now they're getting ready to start up their fall robotics club, and that is First Lego League and Vex Robotics. Am I right, Mr. Walker? All right. If y'all can't see because we out here. He's in the background. But yes, I am correct. They're starting their fall robotics league. So all you got to do is sign your student up, have them participate, encourage them to do this. STEAM activities are always beneficial for any future endeavors that you have. Tonight, I'm going to give you Fuller for the People's Dos Minutos with Jorge. I can't tell you more about this person that I'm going to introduce. But what I am going to do, as soon as they're available, as soon as they get settled, I'm going to give more information. But I'm going to start off with some current events happening in the United States. So some people are paying attention. It is election season. I mean, every commercial is happening right now. I've heard commercials that somebody's a twin. I've heard commercials that somebody else is doing this and is against or trying to teach our kids the wrong way. It is so much trash happening in these commercials that I'm going to encourage you to tune that out and go research. And if I didn't say your name right, I'm going to say I'm representing my niece right now. Because the beautiful thing is my niece Ayanna is on my mind. So I got to shout her out. She is a junior in New Candy, Texas, and she is doing college courses already. So just having that name is already telling you brilliance is going to be on the stage tonight. And I get to bring in somebody that I admire and respect, and we've only got to know each other within the last 2 or 3 months. Actually,
Yeah.
within the last 6 months, but it feels longer. Okay, this is what we get to do when you meet a like-minded spirit. One of the things that I will say is this Dr. Ayanna Shivers is not only someone that is an educator, but she has also encouraged other people to go into education. And now she knows when you are educating, you have to be willing to get political. So she's stepping into the ring and running for Missouri State Senate District 18. I like how that rhymed. That was a good
Yeah,
flow.
look at you. You just flowing. You just flowing.
So let me introduce you all to our guest tonight. I know you've seen the posts. I know you've seen the flyers. I know you've seen it on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I think I even did Twitter. I don't get on Twitter enough, so that's just not my area of expertise. But you've seen the information. You had a chance to kind of click things, and if you haven't, you're probably receiving an invite from my personal page on Facebook tonight saying join and follow. So hopefully, out of the 1,500 people, I can get at least 500 more people to join and follow this young lady here. And I'm gonna give her a chance to go ahead, and I'm passing the mic over. Introduce yourself, tell people a little bit about you, and then also mention we'll get to your campaign a little bit later. We're just gonna talk about you for right now.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, right now I am the technology challenge person who can't seem to get on. I was trying to get on my computer. So if you see me come back in through my computer, I'm still trying to do that. So I'm not holding this lovely phone. But I'm, like you said, I'm Ayanna Shivers. I was born and raised in Mexico, Missouri, where I returned 8 years ago to
Campaign a
live.
little bit later. We're just gonna talk
Deciding I
about you
wanted
for
to make a
right now.
difference. Um, I can say I was born in a union home. My dad was the first African American to work for the local Missouri Power and Light, which is now known as Ameren UE. So that was some years ago. Went to the public schools in Mexico, Missouri. Enjoyed school, I guess. Tried not to get into too much trouble. Graduated, lovely phone. Got to do the national. I was a National Merit National Achievement Scholar. Went ahead, went to University of Oklahoma, where I received my degree, my undergrad in public relations journalism. After I decided I really hated engineering, then I did what a lot of people don't like to talk about, but I really didn't know what I wanted to do in life, and that's why I think I ended up becoming a school counselor. Because when I realized I wanted to go into education, I was substituting at the time, and students were just like coming to me and asking about life stuff. And I was like, you know what? Instead of English or social sciences, maybe I'll just go ahead and go into school counseling. And that became truly my passion, and talking to students about, hey, it's okay if you don't know. Life experiences will help you find your passion and where you need to be. It took me until I was 29 to start my career in education. So I was 30 by the time I completed my master's in education, and then went on to get my PhD a couple of years later. Loved education so much I decided to be national board certified. Actually did it twice. Look, so I did, like, I went through the first 10. I'm embarrassed to say that I'm ending up my second 10. I will not be renewing at the end of that one. I'll be ready to retire by then, hopefully. Let's see, things that I like. I'm just rambling on. You said tell you about me. Love music, play piano. I pastor a church. And I'm really enjoying that. I'm actually at a cross-cultural appointment in the United Methodist Church in Columbia. And, in this day and age, some people are like, oh my goodness, what? And it has been amazing. They have received me with open arms, and I'm really enjoying them. And I believe I'm learning just as much from them as I pray that they're learning from me. Never got married or had kids. So that's one of the reasons that, I think I can do what I do. Because it's just me. And I feel like I have thousands of students that have been, that I call my own, having been a school counselor, and just that passion. So after 18 years of being a school counselor in just about every type of environment, from inner city to rural to charter to private, international students, you name it, I've worked with them. I decided to join the ranks of higher ed and start helping out with the EPP program. And this year, Lincoln put me in a new position. I'm still working with the EPP program, but I'm also director of the Center for Teaching and Learning. So I'll hopefully be helping our faculty grow as well. So I think, did I do okay?
I mean, phenomenal. We said not married. We're gonna put the word yet, because you never know. You might go to Jamaica and get your groove, and next thing you know, hey,
look. Let's not even go there.
Look, I'm gonna get Pastor in trouble, y'all. So the beautiful thing is that I remember when we talked, I was like, Mexico City, Missouri. It's a little blip. Like, it's literally just like you drive by and go to St. Louis.
7,500 people.
Oh, you said 7,500.
I said 11,000. Don't slight us.
So 11,500 people.
I think we're like the 66th largest community in Missouri. Why are you playing? I know. Okay. So that tells you how in rural America how small our towns are, but
I can tell, because I'm like, we got about 15,000 students in KCBS. Just looking at the numbers, so your whole town can fit.
Hey.
But I mean, I think that's amazing, because when you think about it, you're going into a space where you're representing 11,500 people that directly know you, and they get a chance to see you on a regular occasion. If they get up on Sunday morning and go to, can you tell the name of your church again? Because I know you say Methodist, but I don't want to mess that up, because I don't want nobody coming after me.
No, I'm pastoring in Columbia, Missouri, so at New Horizons United Methodist Church.
So, at New Horizons United Methodist Church in Columbia, Missouri, if you get up on Sunday, you can go and see her in person and hear the word that you probably need to hear. Some of us probably need to do some things.
They ain't even got to do all that. We go live every Sunday.
I'm loving it. The Holy Cross Church is my favorite. Technically, for me, I get up and do my worship, but I end up working out in emotion, because sometimes we got to do more than one thing at one time, and that's just the beautiful thing that I've been able to do since the pandemic, and even before that. The church, my church home, Canaan Worship Center, has always been on the cutting edge. They've always had get on YouTube, or you can watch the live. So I remember lifting weights, and when you get the Holy Ghost, you do things that you don't normally. And I remember the message was that Moses was ordained, right? Like, Moses was just a normal man doing extraordinary things. And the next thing I know, I'm lifting weights that I couldn't lift before. I was like, hey, look, sometimes you got to take that message because of physical form, but also you are just a normal person ordained to do extraordinary things. And so I want to get into your campaign, and I love that we get to learn just a little bit more about you, because a lot of times people think politics and we think policies, we think bills, we think laws, we think taxes, we think government that's trying to control us. We think everything, but that is a human being. So that's why I started with, let's get to know more. I know it sounds weird, like, hey, this is all informal, people. Don't think like I have a list of questions out. This is us talking, and you're enjoying this conversation, because we've had this conversation before. I mean, I was on a walk. I think the last time we were talking, I was like, hey, I'm about to walk over here.
Your dog.
Right.
And I was saying, I need to be doing what you're doing. Right now, and I feel like I'm on skates, though. I want to
I don't know. Every time I get on a skate, I find the ground, so I don't know.
Well, the last time, that's how I ended up with 7 pins and a plate. but we won't go into that. That's another whole story.
I learned my lesson.
But I said, I feel like I'm on skates right now. It's like, and I apologize for being a couple of minutes late. Literally, I was at a campaign fundraiser, not for me, but for the House reps and Missouri reps. And I left in plenty of time, but sometimes the people in front of you just don't want to work with you when you're driving down a highway.
That sounds like Missouri for you.
So,
Kansas gonna move, but Missouri, we gonna take our time.
Well, they doing all sorts of road construction on 54. It's just crazy. But yeah, I like the fact, and that's what I'm wanting people to say, see that I'm a regular person. I have a regular job. I'm still working 40 hours. I cannot afford not to be working while I'm campaigning. I don't have that luxury. I mentioned, I don't have a second income to rely on, so I can, be on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all these things and post regularly. I'm doing good sometimes to post 2 or 3 times, but we doing it, and I won't complain. I was just in Kirksville, so I try to do unconventional things with my campaign. So last Thursday, I went to Kirksville because the Missouri Nurses Association was having a legislative picnic. While I was there, I got to see Representative Richard Brown was there. Senatorial candidate Trudy Bush was there. I ride up just about like I did today because I was working. So I literally had 2-hour drive after I got off of work to try to make it on time. But after I left there, I said, I'm going to be in Kirksville. I'm not going to go home tonight. I'm just going to stay. I went by the Dukem Inn, which is where a lot of the college kids hang out on Thursday nights because they have all you can drink. Imagine that. So I was just sitting around in my t-shirt so people could see, who I was. And at the end of the night, an older gentleman was there and came up and I was introduced by the owner, and we just started talking, and that was what he said. He said, "You know what? It is my pleasure to be able to go out and share about your campaign with other people because it's good to see a regular person is trying to represent us at the State House." And that meant more to me than if he had wrote me a check for $2 billion. But legally, he couldn't for my campaign.
That is truly, and I understand that because I remember knocking on doors and my neighbor, and I still see him to this day. And every time I see him, I wave. He don't pay attention as much no more. But when I knocked on his door, he was like, "You're the first politician to ever knock on my door." Like I've never thought I had a voice, and that's a strong statement to hear. And I'm like, I'm not really a politician. I'm an educator that wants to make sure that education moves in the right capacity. And I realized that the source of my qualms and the source of my beef goes to my state government. So so I can go to the school board, but the reality is they gotta go to the state government too. So let me go ahead and go to the source. So
hey, look, I think we have that same mindset. You see a problem, be part of the solution.
Right. At least one of them. Like there's several solutions to the problem, but the reality is which one are we choosing that truly benefits the whole people? And so I want to get into your campaign just a little bit. So can you tell me what inspired you or tell me about your political career? Because I think you've had more than one office from my memory that you've held another office, but now you're running for state senate. So what inspired you to start off in your political career and then also the offices that you've held before?
Okay, so what really started me off, I'll say over my life, I'd had, every once in a while I think about, hey, politics. I remember being in South Carolina and an older gentleman and with the NAACP. I had just moved there, so I was young, didn't know any better. They had me do their NAACP like Queen pageant or whatever, and raising the money, and I won. And from that point, they sort of tried to put me under their wing and was trying to groom me to be, go into politics. Well, I left that area, and, then that sort of put that at the back part of my mind. I sort of erased it, to be honest. Well, in 2014, I moved back to Missouri, and I started attending the local city council meetings because I just remember hearing my dad or my mom and different people, especially in the Black community, complaining about how no one listened to them, and it didn't do any good to talk or go to, I'm like, well, why don't y'all go to your city council, or why don't you do this? They're just like, it doesn't matter. Our voice doesn't count. And I was like, what's the problem? Let me go see what's going on. So I started attending, and the first thing I realized, now understand, Mexico is about 5% Black, less than 6%, I should say. It's about 5.6%. And I went to city council, and the 5 seats, all of them were white males, most of them older. And I said, aha, we don't even have a female on the board right now, a council. And so I decided at the end of that year, when an opening came up, I ran. And the first year I ran, I lost by 18 votes. Understand, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I went and got a couple of signs. That was about it. And so I was pleasantly surprised to see I lost only by 18. But I think it was also a wake-up call for some people who did not go out and vote because they didn't think it really mattered. They're like, oh, I'm not going. This isn't a presidential election. Too many people don't realize the elections that probably matter most are your municipal and state elections, because those are the people who are making those decisions that mostly impact your community and where you live. Next time I ran the following year, and I became this person elected to city council with the most votes for that I had seen in several years on the council when I did some research. And I think I still have the most, was elected with the most numbers since then. So in 2019, we do a crazy, we don't have a popular vote for mayor in Mexico. So you have to be on the city council to be able to serve as mayor, and they only do 1-year terms. And you can only do 2 terms in a row. Don't ask. But in some ways, I think that meant just as much to me that the peers that I was on city council chose me to serve as the mayor. And they, and I was able to do it for my 2 years until I termed out. And during that time, I was able to sort of fulfill what I'd always said I wanted to do for the people of Mexico, and that was to give people voices. I started something called Lunch with the Mayor when I was in office. So once a month, I would pick a local business until COVID hit to go to, and we would, talk over lunch or breakfast or whatever it was. And I'd answer questions, or I'd address something that was going. One time we even took it to the high school when we were talking about the pool that we were building to get and that allowed them to, provide some input that we actually used and took into consideration when we ended up building the pool. I also got the opportunity, and I have not seen it. I saw the current mayor do it one time, but when our newspaper went under new management, they reached out to see if I would want a column. And so monthly I was writing a column where I would allude to something that was going on in city government, but a lot of times I would talk about what was going on in the world in the sense of how do we build, bridge the gaps in our community? How do we work together? Trying to build and show people that, you might know me to be a Democrat, or you might be a Republican or an independent or whatever you are, but there are some common themes. There are some common values and beliefs that we as Americans, as members of, Mexico, Missouri, grew up and understand. And I think that has significantly helped me as I'm finding myself campaigning right now in this, same area.
So I'm loving it because you already had the experience of leading, and not only leading, but being chosen to lead by the people that you're representing. And so, uh, I guess I don't want to say, I do want to say it this way. What is inspiring you to go to the Senate level?
Well, I'll be honest, in 2018 I ran, and it was more because um the central committee lead member or president or whatever they call it, leader of District 10 at the time, where Mexico was in District 10 at the last during the last election, came to me and said, "Hey, I'm looking for a candidate. That's one of the things that I'm supposed, I've been challenged to do." And I was thinking about it. We worked at the same school. She said, "Ayanna, you're in ministry, you're educated. I think you'd make a good candidate." And I looked at her like she was crazy, had two horns or something. And I was like, "Okay, I hear you, but I'm not so sure about that." She's like, "Well," I said, "I'll tell you what, I'll pray about it and I'll get back with you." And she told me, she said, "Well, if you say no, just know I'm coming back." She said, "I've already did my research, and usually sometimes it takes up to 9, the average is 9 times before a candidate will say yes." I'm thinking to myself, if I tell you no, you can come back 9, 10, 50, 100, whatever. No is going to be no. So I said, your best bet is that I pray about it and I'm led to go ahead and do it. And really, that's essentially what happened. I thought about it. I prayed about it. And I felt God saying, "No, I want you to go ahead. Why not? Why not you? I've shown you, when you were younger, doing some type of, doing something." And I said, "Okay." We ran. And the crazy thing is, most people get started on their elections like a year or so before. I didn't know anything about all that. I waited till March. I filed like the last week you could file in March. I didn't have any money in my campaign coffers. The guy who Jim died said he volunteered to be he didn't volunteer. I asked him if he would be my treasurer. And that shocked people because people in the community, I didn't know where he stood politically that much. I had my thinking that he probably was more right leaning usually, but because he knew me, I call him like my other dad in Mexico. I went to school with his daughter. She's a couple of weeks older than me. He agreed to be my treasurer. None of us knew what the heck we were doing, but we were doing it. And based on the interactions that I had, based on what I heard people saying, I felt really good about what we were able to accomplish in such a short period of time. So I was looking forward to running in 2022, thinking that, District 10, if I'm in District 10, the person I ran against terms out this year. And I give her props. When I ran against her, she was everywhere. If I was at a parade, I'd be darned she was at the parade.
I see you everywhere.
I see you. Goodness, can't you just miss one so I feel like I can say I was there and she wasn't or something? But that really wasn't the case. But she was well known. And I had people come up to me, and I mean, even some people that I was going through for endorsements, they'd call and said, "Oh my gosh, you did a really good job. But, we have the friendly incumbent rule. So, she hasn't done anything wrong," which makes sense. Why go with somebody you don't know how they're going to really vote? You got to go with what's there. And I could respect that. But they would say, "Hey, we still want you to know that we like what you said. It's just that we know her." And that was a lot of what I was getting across the district. So I felt good about it. I really did. Even though I lost and everybody's like, "Oh man, you lost by, 40,000 or however." I had 29. I can't remember. It was like 67, 69, 31, something like that. But I also said we had to look at the 2018 election a little differently because we all remember medical marijuana was on it. Minimum wage was on it. And what we saw in a district where normally we only would normally see 40,000 people vote, 60,000 people voted. And normally I would bet you that 60,000, that extra 20,000 wasn't paying attention to the issues, because if you look at the issues that passed, it didn't match with the people who supported them.
Sound about right. And so
I think that hurt me more. I think if that wasn't the case, there would either would have been a lot closer, or I might have actually been the victor in that one.
Well, and I can say what I love most is what you're hearing, someone that is resilient and has the tenacity to come back. Kind of like KUAW, they always come back with a good swing. So I got to give my radio station their time,
Hey, thank you for having me.
Located in our historic WEB Du Bois Learning Center, right off 31st Street. If you're in Kansas City, Missouri, I promise you, if you want to visit, just contact Brother George Walker. I promise you, he'll let you in. He'll show you the studio. He'll teach you how to run the studio if you really want to learn. Because he's trying to go home.
Look.
Yeah, so all of our media broadcast students, if you all of our media broadcast students, whether you're in high school or in college, if you want an externship, just reach out to Brother George Walker at KUAW, or you can go to BFTAA, Black Families Technology Association, Awareness Association. They are breaking the digital divide, and they've been working on this work for years. And I promise you, I don't just mention it because they're opening up their STEAM sessions with the robotics club. Coming up, applications are happening right now. So First Lego League as well as Vex Robotics. And if you don't know what those are, as a former coach, I can promise you, seeing students are young ages from first grade all the way through middle school, 8th grade, 7th, 8th grade, and then from 7th, 8th grade to high school, creating different solutions to different problems and watching it play out, then going back to the table when it doesn't work the first time, fixing, working on it again, pushing that button to see if it changed anything else. That's the tenacity that we have with KUAW. That's the tenacity that you're hearing with Representative, or I should say soon to be Senator Dr. Ayanna Shivers here for District 18. I'm about to say 16. District 18, Missouri State Senate. And one of the things that I looked at when I ran in 2020 for Missouri State Senate District 7. And what I was looking at in my consideration was, who is my senator? And when I found out my senator wasn't even present for majority of the year, I was like, well, the seat been open. What's the deal? Like, who's running? So, of course, being green to it, I just made up my mind that I'm going to run. When the Lord speaks, you don't get to deny that speech. So I promise you, people, that was the question I got asked a lot. Was this ordained? I'm like, well, I wish it wasn't, because I wouldn't be doing this.
Right.
Sometimes you don't want to be out in public, and you don't want to have to talk to people and shake hands, but you also don't want people to look at you with fear in their eyes. A, it's a pandemic. B, I'm Black and I'm male. And I'm up in these spaces, and I'm saying this honestly. I've seen people that wouldn't even come near their door. I'm walking up, and I see you have your door open, and I'm pressing the doorbell. And you're like, "Don't come, don't." I'm like, "Oh, And so I understand you have to have a certain course, and you have to have a strong foundation in your religious or beliefs that says this is something you're supposed to be doing, and this is something that you're going to end up doing again. So I appreciate and applaud that you mentioned all of the struggles and all of the challenges that you faced. And so what makes this election different? Because you seem a little lighter to me. You got a smile that's lighting up the room. So I'm seeing some confidence here. So I want to know what's making this election.
Look, I was smiling like this last time too. No. No, I always try to be, my philosophy is this: if I said that God has ordained me to do this, then I have to also understand whatever the outcome is, God is getting glory from something. Whether it's the fact that I've been going out, and what has been really empowering this time, I'm hearing people talk about hope. I moved from District 10, which was, I like to be I'm being a little cocky and thinking, but I said part of it, I think they moved Audrain because I think people figured I might run again. And the rationale would be, in that district, I probably, without an incumbent, would have had a slight advantage because I was visible when I ran in it the first time. And so people would remember seeing me before, where no matter who was running, no one had ran that entire course before but me. But I'm in a brand new district of 14 counties. I only had 5 the last time. And it's a lot of open space, a lot of places where you don't have internet or broadband, capabilities, no phone service. But like I said, I've been going into these spaces and I've been welcomed by people. Some people have come up to me, I'm running as a Democrat. I don't say, if you look on my webpage, and I'm sure you did, you won't see anything that says Democrat. None of my signs have Democrat. The only thing that might indicate that is the fact that Missouri is painted blue on my sign. So, and I do that intentionally. Not that I'm ashamed of who I am, not at all. But I just felt that right now, in the time we're living in the United States, we're not united. We could technically be renamed right now the divided states of America. And that saddens me. It really does. And so when I'm talking to people, my emphasis is on, how can I serve people? What can we do to better our communities? And the fact that current legislators from all parties, as far as I'm concerned, there have been some that have really gotten into playing these party politics while, as I like to say, their constituents are suffering. Their communities are suffering. And nobody's really practicing being a good neighbor. And that's the message I'm talking about. Let's go back to a time when I grew up, when it didn't matter what party you came from. If you were a good person, a person might elect you because I knew that you were about making positive change. Now we can't, people don't trust their politician. Half the time you don't see them. And so my big thing is taking people away from that question that I get asked, a lot of times. So what party are you running on? What ticket are you running on? And I'm like, should it really matter? Why don't you ask me about what am I standing for? What are my positions? What's my platform? What do I stand for?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, because they have a distrust, they don't even pay attention to those parts anymore because they're accustomed to, like, we have groupthink that happens. And I say this just because that's because what's comfortable. Usually you find like-minded individuals. The next thing you know, you have like-minded conversations and all you see is the same dialogue over and over and over again, even in your social media pages, even in your local media pages, you're seeing the same dialogue. And so when I ran as an independent, and what I love saying, and people don't realize this, I talked longer to Republican people that said I'm Republican than I did to Democratic. And I'm not either one. I really don't care either side. At the end of the day, it's whatever the means justifies the ends to me on that point. But the reality was, they heard that I am for the people. I am not trying to continue increasing taxes because this is taking money out of our mouths, out of our houses, out of our plates. And then I'm also making sure that you know who your politician is. And at the end of the day, hey, can you talk to your politician? So I'm here live with you all on KUAW, and I'm talking to Dr. Shivers, Ayanna Shivers, who's running for Missouri Senate Missouri State Senate, District 18. And that is an example of being able to just reach out. Like, literally, it was a phone call, a text message. Hey, I haven't forgot about you. Let's do this. Let me get your email. Let me send out this flyer. And here we are. Like, that's how it should be. We're all doing the same. Right? So I told people my three pillars are educational prosperity, educational prosperity, economic progress, and civic relationships. And so when I talk about it, people are like, what do those mean? Well, as education prosperity means that I want education to be prosperous. I want you to own it. And when you own something, you want it to return to you tenfold for whatever effort that you put in. So that means that I need to make sure our teachers are paid adequately. Well, guess what? Who decides the funding for teachers? It ain't your school board. I promise you that. And those that don't know, Missouri is ranked 50th in the nation for what they pay professionals, certified
teachers,
educated individuals. They pay them.
It's a crying shame.
This is after they raised it. It was $25,000, and now it's $33,000. That is what we are putting into our classrooms, and we're trying to figure out why we have a teacher shortage. Well, I can't afford to go into education. I really can't. Taking all the loans in consideration, there's no return on my investment. I'm going to be in debt. So you have to get to know your senators because they're the ones that get to have longer dialogue. I guess people don't understand the difference between the House of Representatives and the Senate. The Senate gets to have longer dialogues on subjects and be able to do a fine-tooth comb through it from what is sent over from a House bill and what is being sent out as a Senate bill prior to the votes. So they get to have a true conversation and be able to rip some things to shreds. What I also learned in our Senate in Missouri during 2020 and even afterwards was very one-sided. It was one political party with primarily 80% of the representation.
Right. But it's interesting that you say that because this year what we saw was this party that had dominance was split. They were fighting themselves. And it's ridiculous when you think that with over 2,000 bills that were presented, less than 50 actually passed. Of course, some of them I'm very happy to see that they
I'm not even going there.
Because even some of the ones that made it through, you're like, oh my gosh, what were they thinking? And that's why I am, I'm really hitting the pavement. I've been at so many parades, and I'm not talking about in like huge cities all the time either. I've been in some of the smaller communities. You think Mexico is small? No. You gotta look at some of them.
I've been in Stockton, so
look, I've been in Martinsburg, Atlanta. I was just this weekend, I went to Edina for their Corn Fest. Then I left there and went to Downing, which had 383 people, if I remember correctly, on their sign. But they must have had 3, 4, or 5 times that many people hanging out that day for the appreciation days, including a gentleman who was celebrating his 100th birthday. And
I got to make this reference because people don't understand why we're so, like, why does this sound like we've known each other for so long? Can you tell them what your Facebook page is just so they can hear it?
Ayanna Shivers for the people.
It makes sense, don't it? Like, it just connects. Right. I mean, you're at an appreciation event and you're celebrating someone's 100th or centennial birthday, which, I mean, I say after 70, you lived a long life to me. So every time after that, you just
according to my wait a moment, according to my college students of this year in my education and cultural diversity class, once you've seen 40, you've lived your life.
Invite me out, because I guess they need to hear from me, because I ain't hit 40 yet, but I'm definitely look. I
was 50, so I was offended. I was like, we did, we were doing one of those activities where you give them a list of like 9 people and you tell them their race and gender and how many kids, or if they're married and single, and some little background information like what they do for a hobby, or what they're, if they volunteer. And you have to figure out, if there was one liver to save them all, who gets the liver. And so it forces people to sort of analyze where their biases and, their, where things lie. And most of them was like, nope, you over 40. They was knocking anybody over 40 off the list so quick. I said, wow.
Well, I mean, I hope they don't. I hope they don't give it to the person that probably not going to appreciate it much. Not going to go there because some of my biases may show. So we go keep that in check. We on the radio. No, I don't want nobody coming up to me like you said this. But I am saying this because I mean we're at the 75% marker of the show. So I really want people to understand that they have to know how to connect with you. So Ayanna Shivers for the People is your Facebook page. How else can they connect with you beyond being at the parade? Because you're gonna see her at the parade. You're gonna see her at the fundraiser. You're gonna see her on the street. So how can they?
You won't see me. And usually I'm wearing something that, either if I'm not wearing a big T-shirt like a walking billboard, I have on one of my polos or quarter zips or something. There you go. You already know. I would have had, look, if I wasn't running so late, I would have flipped into one of them before I got here, but, before I hopped on, but, it's all good. I'm also on Twitter, Ayanna Shivers Mo. My old one is still up because somebody else had the login and I can't remember what it was, so I can't delete it, but that's okay. I need some more followers because I just started that one. So please, if you're on Twitter, please follow me, Ayanna Shivers Mo. I also on Saturday started my TikTok. Oh, y'all gonna have to pray for me on that one. It's Ayanna Shivers Mo as well. I think so. Yeah. My face is on them all, so it's pretty easy to find me. I'm also on Instagram, Neighbors for Shivers.
I say I'm definitely gonna follow the Twitter and I'm gonna add the Instagram, so you already get one automatic more likes or follows or whatever the case may be.
Yay!
And I'm sure Lyne't Gray, our wonderful host of the show that's normally here, is probably gonna follow as well. And if you want to, you can connect with KUAW. I think they do follow for follow, so you follow them, they follow you.
KUAW on all platforms.
KUAW.org. And then when you come to Kansas City, remind me next time. I'll take you over to the Boys Learning Center, and I'll actually introduce you to the executive director as well as Mr. Walker, so that you can see it for yourself. I promise you'll be like, this is what this. Normally we get to go into the station and we have the opportunity, but Mr. Walker has adapted to all the different changes. And when I say adapted, we were just talking about updates to the system before we got on to the show live tonight. So he is always constantly improving and adapting the station. You can go in person. It is an actual radio station. There's mics and everything. You got a headset. You feel real official. So we not just coming to you live on Zoom, but we can come to you in person.
in my former life, I actually did a young broadcasters program. So you need to connect some of them old students.
Send them over to Mr. Walker so he can go home.
And they was all in South Carolina.
It's all right.
That was so many years ago.
The cost of living in Kansas City.
I'm trying to think. I think one of them, I can't remember, did Chris Rock's little brother do it? That's how long it's been.
I mean,
we talking
like
Tony?
You talking about Tony Rock? I didn't know I know it's a lot of them.
There's a bunch of them. Oh my gosh.
But so if you all didn't hear, you can follow Ayanna Mo on Twitter as well as TikTok, and then Instagram is Ayanna for the People. Ayanna Shivers Mo. If you follow Ayanna Mo and it don't look like her, or if it do look like her, let us know. But Ayanna Shivers Mo on TikTok and Twitter. I promise you, I'm not connected with TikTok. Y'all all right without me. I see enough of those videos just by people sharing it. I don't need to be on there. I'm not embarrassing myself today.
Look, I haven't. Look, well, see, I've been smart. I've kept mine so far on the 15-second one, so I can't talk more than 15 seconds and it'll go off. So that means I can just come on and say, "Hey, I'm here. I did that this weekend, but I haven't done it since." So I'm putting together my plan of. I mean, you a one-person show. I have a good campaign manager though. It's just a lot when you're working full time, but we trying to get out there because it is, as of today, we have exactly 2 months or 8 weeks.
I mean, so in the next 8 weeks, I know you have a fundraiser. What's your upcoming fundraiser happening? I see. I was looking.
Right. So I have one on Thursday in Kirksville, being hosted by a wonderful woman up there. Then I have my game night coming up on the 24th. I just now put it's a meet and greet, hopefully fundraiser on the 21st. Then we're having an October 1st fundraiser in Shelbina. Then hey, we are in it to win it. But most importantly for me, it's the parades, it's meeting the people. And right now, I want to say this before our time runs out, reminding people, if you're not registered to vote, please go register. Go ahead, go into your county courthouse and register there, or go to your post office. Make sure you have your ID with you. Also, understand that if you are registered to vote, the identification you used in the past may not work. You can no longer, if you're a student, use your student ID. It has to be government issued. But the good news is you can get a free government issued ID for voting purposes. Of course, you're still going to have to pay for, if you don't have it, a birth certificate and the correct forms that they're going to need to approve it. But, let people know so we can get help and make sure that you're registered and have what you need when it's time to vote.
Well, while you're telling people that they can vote, I want to remind there's a whole demographic of people that are out there and they still don't think they have a voice. If you have served your time and you're off of parole, you have eligibility to vote. Go and register. And I'm saying this because there's a lot of African Americans, and I say this specifically, people in my hood, when I was talking, they were like, "Can I vote?" I'm like, "Yes, you can. You can register to vote."
And I did the same thing.
Yeah, only 2 things that keep you from voting and if registering to vote: if you're on a lifetime parole, or if you have voting tampering or election tampering. Those are the only 2 things that ban you from voting for the rest of your life. So if you served your parole, you've served your time, please go out and register. Promise you, your past is not going to keep your voice muted. Don't allow it to keep it muted, because that's how they've been getting away with a lot of this stuff. Can you imagine if you were the voter and you had made sure that the senator knew who you was, so that when you're over here saying, "Hey, I need this for my community," don't you think that makes a big impact? I'm just gonna put it out there. I don't care what it is, but I'm sure people have been playing that, because what happens is if you don't produce for that community, then they go find somebody that will. And hopefully, Ayanna Shivers, Dr. Ayanna Shivers, who's running for Missouri State Senate District 18, is that person that's going to produce for those communities that people may not have known of, because these are rural communities. And I'm also saying you're going to be representing Kansas City, Missouri too, because when you're in Senate, I'll be like, "Hey, can I come talk to you about this?" Because I don't have a problem with anyone that is in that space to represent the state of Missouri. So it's not just those rural areas. It's not just those counties. It's not just that city. It is the state of Missouri. And if you are truly wanting to make sure that your voice is heard, you have someone that has mentioned it. You have access to go find them on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. And they have their own website, which you can go to from their pages. So you don't even have to ask for that. go and connect. And then I honestly say, find them on the street. Go out there and see where they. It is we not hide our locations. We not that famous to be worried about security issues. And I promise you, if you have somebody that's elected and they have to worry about security issues, they've probably been threatened, but also they don't feel safe where they're at. So we need to change that because they're representing those people and it should always feel safe. And so I promise if you're not out here representing the people, I'm not going to be pulling you on to these shows. Shout out to Stacey Lake, who ran for Jackson County executive. She was on this show a couple of months back. And then Ayanna Shivers, welcome to the Fuller for the People team. It's real easy.
Thank you.
All you got to do is show up and do the work. You don't even have to do nothing extra.
So I just so appreciate you having me tonight.
Oh, this is the easy part. And you'll probably catch her again before the election. I've been trying and working out on some things. But if you all are interested in learning more, feel free to go to the websites, go to the social medias. But I want you to give a closing thought because I got to shout out the radio station and Lyne't Gray before I end. So I want you to give your closing thought.
Well, just the main thing is, and I'm learning this from my 10-year-old nephew who has went with me on parades, has asked to go canvassing. Understand your voice matters and take a part in democracy. You're never too young or too old. You might not be able to, the younger ones might not be able to vote, but they can take a part. And so that's it.
And they can tell their parents to vote for it. Like, hey, look, she just, I promise
but
you.
That's what when I had my volunteer meeting the other day and we were talking about what canvassing was, and he was like raising his hand. He's like, Ayanna, I want to canvass. I was like, okay. Ayanna, I can go knock on the doors in my neighborhood and I can go do this and I can go with you because you're scared of dogs and I'm not scared of dogs. I'll knock on the door. I'm like, you know what? You hired.
I mean, I promise they're more receptive to children knocking on their door because when my 2-year-old was knocking, I'm giving you credit that Lee Mason is going to be my canvasser and she's going to give you all the precious, adorable fields that you want. And I need you to sign the petition. As I consider running for other offices, just know we are still active in this game. Shout out to KUAW.
That's awesome.
Stands for knowledge, understanding, understanding and wisdom, in which I hope you got a little bit of knowledge because you got to learn about Dr. Shivers here and why she's running, but also her personal side. And then I hope you got a little bit more understanding because you got to see that she is a person working 40 hours a week, still getting out, connecting with
and pastoring.
And so pastoring. well, pastoring is I want to give it hours because you don't get to stop pastoring.
Nope.
I've never heard of a pastor.
That's 24/7.
So just know that she can bless you with a nice quick prayer if you need it. And then also get some wisdom and understanding that your voice truly matters. Thank you to Lyne't Gray. She's over in Ghana right now, but she's giving me permission to do this on her show and her segment, the Lyne't Gray Show, located here almost every Tuesday from 8 to 9 p.m. KUAW.org. You can go on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and I think we're still on TuneIn. So you can tune in. When I say global, we mean global. So don't forget to like, share, comment, react. Make sure other people are seeing this because I know tonight you got a chance to see a candidate in the rawest form. And without them actually saying, can you vote for me? I promise you, I feel like you should be convinced. And I hope you like, share, and follow their pages. Thank you all for joining us tonight on this episode of Dos Minutos with Jorge and loving the Lyne't Gray Show. Please enjoy yourself. And if you have any questions, reach out to us.
Thanks again.